Now at 9, recreational marijuana is legal in Missouri. We'll take a look at the impact it has had on Kansas. Plus, a major theater chain announces plans for a new luxury movie theater in Joplin.
Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are going to the border to see the crisis firsthand. I'm Mallory Rivera in Washington with more on the latest trip down south coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Cale Chapman. As Missouri adjusts to the legalization of recreational marijuana, the impact is also felt in southeast Kansas. KOAM's Yana Adela talked with a sheriff and an addiction treatment center in Kansas about the issues legalized marijuana may bring into the state.
Since recreational marijuana has been legalized in the state of Missouri, law enforcement in Kansas may have slightly more work to do.
I think that we most certainly could see people who have lawfully smoked or ingested marijuana in Missouri and then travel into the state of Kansas.
Jerry Crow says they have not seen so much of an uptick in cases with possession of marijuana on the side of Kansas, but there's a slight increase in impaired driving.
We're adapting to the legalization of marijuana and the higher instances of drivers being impaired by not just marijuana but any kind of controlled substance.
Sheriffs are trained to conduct different types of roadside tests.
They're looking for specific clues during that whole interaction, and based on those clues, if they're present, they may be asked to take an additional test.
DCCCA Addiction Treatment Center in Pittsburgh notices changes with residents.
People not thinking marijuana use is a problem anymore because it's been legalized now in just about every state around us.
Deidre Johnson says there could be an increase with people in Kansas using marijuana, and problems can come along with the use.
Just have something else to focus on and not have to think about their problems, or to be able to relax, and people can get dependent on that pretty quickly.
A lot of Kansas residents are in Missouri frequently, and Missouri residents are in Kansas and back and forth. At the end of the day, marijuana in the state of Kansas is still illegal.
In southeast Kansas, Yana Adela, KOAM News.
Sheriff Groves says consequences for bringing a small amount of marijuana is generally a misdemeanor crime. Larger quantities and other items could lead to a charge of felony possession with intent to distribute. B&B Theaters announced it's bringing a new location to Joplin. The nation's largest privately held theater chain says it will construct a luxury 8-screen cinema at the southeast corner of 32nd Street and Hammonds Boulevard. The new location will feature laser projection, heated leather recliners, a bar and grill, and an arcade. No word yet on when construction is expected to be completed. The city of Pittsburgh is receiving a grant. The up to $16,000 grant will go towards supporting the surveying of historic downtown buildings. The survey aims to collect and gather information about the buildings around how they were used and who owned them. It can be useful for planning things such as disasters and future development.
Well, there's a couple things that you gain. First of all, you get a picture of what the city was like in its early days, right? What happened as the city developed, right? But it also makes people feel a little bit more ownership, that there's a reason and a purpose and some sort of historical context for the town that they're living in.
The survey is also the first step in starting a discussion about how to potentially designate and protect historic properties. Meteorologist Sam Lane joins us now for a first look at the weather.
All right, thank you very much, Kayla. It's been a beautiful day across the area with lots of sunshine, low dew points, and the winds are not really out of that control. Right now, radar is all clear, and over the last 36 hours, it was quite chilly yesterday, very winter-like, and then today we saw temperatures jumping up into the lower 40s, and as we head towards the weekend, things are going to be improving. This evening, we're going to be right around freezing, all the way down to upper 20s by in the morning. And then tomorrow we're going to have some Saturday sprinkles with also a fire danger due to the low humidities and high winds. Warmer on Sunday and a warmer week ahead as well. And I'll tell you all about that when we come back in the weather in just a little while.
An advisor to former Vice President Mike Pence says no new classified documents were found during a voluntary search of Pence's D.C. office on Friday. Federal investigators searched Pence's Advancing American Freedom office for several hours. His advisor said the only thing taken was a binder with 3 previously redacted documents. A person familiar with the matter says those documents were believed to be from the 2020 debate prep. Pence's Indiana home was searched last week by the FBI. The FBI says it has contained a malicious cyber attack on part of its network of computers. Authorities believe it involved a system the FBI uses to investigate images of child exploitation. Sources say the hack targeted the New York field office, one of the largest FBI offices in the country. It's not yet clear where the attack originated. Lawmakers from both parties are trekking to the southern border for an up-close look at the migrant crisis. Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries is making the trip today after the White House dismissed Speaker Kevin McCarthy's tour as a publicity stunt. Fox's Madeline Rivera reports from Washington.
I've always said it's very important to listen to border communities.
A day after slamming a Republican delegation's trip to the border as a publicity stunt, House Democrats are holding their own trip to the Texas-Mexico border.
Our city, state, and federal partners have been very enlightening in terms of some of the challenges that are faced.
The tours come as Republicans ramp up their scrutiny of the Biden administration's border policies. They're considering launching impeachment proceedings against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
I don't dismiss it by any measure, but what I do is I focus on my work.
GOP members of the House Judiciary Committee are also planning to hold a hearing next week in Yuma, Arizona.
You know what this needs, this border crisis? More publicity.
House Democrats are boycotting the hearing, calling it a stunt and saying they weren't told about it ahead of time. Republicans say they gave Democrats 3 weeks' notice, adding those at the border need help.
There's desperation in their voices. There's frustration in their voices.
Democrats say they'll conduct their own trip to the border in March. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Coming up, trying to remove the stigma.
Congress putting a spotlight on mental health this week as a senator checks himself into the hospital for treatment. I'm Caroline Shively in Washington. I'll have that story coming up.
President Biden is sending warm thoughts to Pennsylvania's John Fetterman after the senator checked himself into a hospital for treatment of clinical depression. The president tweeted that he was grateful for Fetterman leading by example, and he's not the only one. Fox's Caroline Shively reports from Washington.
The Senate is shining a light on mental health this week, not with legislation, but with one of their own seeking help. Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania is receiving treatment for clinical depression today after voluntarily checking himself into the hospital on Wednesday. The admission is rare for a politician and has sparked bipartisan support. Republican Senator Ted Cruz writing, "Mental illness is real and serious." And Democratic Congressman Richie Torres tweeting that he had been hospitalized for depression in 2010. Fetterman suffered a near-fatal stroke during his campaign last year and was sidelined for about 2 months. It's left him with an auditory processing disorder.
How many of you have had your own personal major health challenge in your life? Hands up.
Studies show about 30% of people who survive medical events that require intensive care develop depression.
He was campaigning and went straight into the Senate, and this is a poor guy, needs some downtime, and perhaps this is his opportunity.
Senator Ben Ray Lujan, who suffered a stroke last year, tells Fox that Fetterman has a support system in place for his recovery.
Even after he survived his stroke, he's only gotten stronger and stronger.
Any absence by a senator is being closely monitored because of Democrats' razor-thin majority. But with the House under Republican control, there are no major votes expected in the Senate in the near future. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Teen girls in the U.S. experienced record levels of violence, sadness, and suicide risk in recent years. That's all according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's biannual Youth Risk Behavior Survey. The responses collected in the fall of 2021 offer the first look at trends since the start of the pandemic. 57% of teen girls felt persistently sad or hopeless in 2021, double the rate for teen boys. Nearly a third of teen girls seriously considered attempting suicide. If you feel sleepier in the winter, it could be that you need that extra shut-eye during the darker months. Scientists studying sleep patterns in Berlin found striking changes as the seasons came and went. Total sleep time was about an hour longer in the winter, but even more significant, REM sleep, which is important for learning about memory, was 30 minutes longer. Sam is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, Missouri Southern baseball takes on McKendree at home this afternoon. Jacob Leonard will have those highlights and more in sports.
Well, we have started off the weekend great with lots of sunshine today and warming temperatures, and that's good news. Let's take a look outside right now in Seneca, Missouri, at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Pretty nice night shaping up down there as well as across the entire four-state area. This afternoon we made it up to 43 degrees after starting out at a chilly 21. Of course, weren't anywhere near those records set way back. Radar is clear this evening and it's going to stay that way for a while, but the winds are going to be picking up as we go through the next 24 to 36 hours. And by the morning you can see some high wind speeds up towards the north, and as we go through the afternoon these winds are going to increase, especially in southeastern Kansas with winds over 35 miles per hour. Then those winds are going to be shifting over our area overnight into Sunday morning, and by Sunday morning the highest winds will be down to the south, and then by afternoon on Sunday winds are going to start dying down just a little bit. When you combine the winds with the drought conditions we have over southeastern Kansas, that's why we're concerned about the high fire danger, especially tomorrow. So please be aware of any outdoor flames. Just keep a tab on that. Temperatures right now are generally in the 20s and 30s across the area. 34 in Iola, 31 in Nevada, 28 though in Stockton right now, 35 for our friends down in Grove. And when you factor in the wind, it feels like it's in the 20s right now, 26 in Iola, 28 in Commerce, still 30 down in Jay as well as Grove. Right now in Joplin, we're sitting at freezing, and it feels like 24 out there because of a south wind at 9. The dew point is real low at 19, so a lot of dry air in place across the area. And over the next 24 hours, we're going to see the winds coming up out of the south. So tonight we're going to see lows generally right about where they are right now with increasing clouds. And then today, tomorrow, we're going to see temperatures rising into the 40s, close to 50 down to the south, and then maybe some showers coming by late tomorrow night into early Sunday morning. Not really expecting a lot with that, with lows generally in the 30s as we go into Sunday morning. Then on Sunday afternoon, increasing clouds with some south winds. Highs should make it up to around 60 degrees. Notice a front up to the north and west. That's more of a less a wind shift line that will move through the area and not really change our temperatures all that much, with lows in the 30s on Monday. Rainfall amounts this weekend, not really all that great, especially with those sprinkles and showers on Saturday. But as we go through time into Wednesday, that's when we expect to see the rain really start to increase across our area, with some places picking up over an inch of rainfall. All right, the cold air is going to retreat back up towards the north. Mild air is going to take over for the weekend, but then we have a storm system developing to our south and west. That's what's going to come across us on Wednesday, and that's when the next big chance of rain starts to move in, and some colder air coming in behind that system on Thursday. Over the next 7 days, looks like a great weekend with temperatures warming into the 60s, and that continues right into the early part of next week, with some rain on Wednesday, slightly cooler on Thursday, and if we extend it out, another chance of rain next weekend. So looks like it's going to be an active pattern, but at least more spring-like.
Yeah, you know, I'm starting to think the groundhog might be wrong.
We'll see. There's still plenty of time for winter to make a comeback.
All right, well, yeah, we'll take a look at it. Thank you, Sam. Coming up, former officers in the other side of the courtroom.
5 former officers charged in the death of Tyree Nichols appear in court. I'm Charles Watson in Memphis. I'll have that story coming up.
Good news for those wanting or needing to buy a used car. Prices are falling. But that's not the case for new cars. In today's Consumer Watch, we'll see what's behind the price swings and why your insurance premium is likely going to go up this year.
After years of low inventory and soaring prices, the cost of a used car fell nearly 2% in January, according to the Consumer Price Index. And data from Edmunds shows the average price of a used car in December was down $1,600, costing consumers about $29,533. If you're looking to take advantage of the drop, experts say do your research first.
Being mindful and also being conscious of the vehicle and trying to get an extensive history of that vehicle is probably most important.
Experts say higher interest rates are making it more expensive to finance a car purchase, which is limiting demand. An increase in the supply of critical parts like computer chips is also pushing down prices, and President Joe Biden has pushed to expand chip manufacturing at home to prevent future shortages.
We're opening factories in your states to build semiconductor chips and electric vehicles and advanced batteries that's going to power those vehicles.
When it comes to new cars, prices rose 0.2% in January and were up 5.8% year over year, the Consumer Price Index shows. And car insurance premiums are also climbing. According to Bankrate's annual True Cost of Auto Insurance report, the average cost of full coverage insurance has reached more than $2,000 a year nationally. That figure is up nearly 14% from last year. Bankrate says years of high inflation resulting from labor and part shortages drove up the cost of insurance claims for car repairs. For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Cole Higgins.
If you're like most Americans, you're paying about the same for gas as last week. The national average price for a gallon of gas is $3.42, which equates to a 1-cent drop. Demand for gas is down a bit while supplies are currently increasing. Of course, the exact price and movement vary from state to state and even from neighborhood to neighborhood. The price of gas is 12 cents more than a month ago, but 9 cents less than this time last year. Credit card debt hits a record high as rising inflation continues to make everyday items more expensive. According to a report from the New York Federal Reserve, bank credit card balances increased by $61 billion in the final 3 months of 2022. The current debt of $986 billion beats the previous high of $927 billion set before the COVID-19 pandemic. The rise in credit card use is also causing concerns because interest rates are reaching record highs as well. Up next, how a lost letter finally made it to its destination, only a century later than expected. Well, it took more than a century, but a letter addressed to a South London flat finally reached its destination. The current occupant, Finlay Glenn, saw the year 16 on the envelope and assumed it meant 2016, until he noticed the stamp featured King George V instead of Queen Elizabeth II. The letter was written by the daughter of a sea merchant and was addressed to the wife of a local stamp magnate with the salutation, "My dear Katie." She wrote about a family holiday in Bath and said she was suffering with a very heavy cold. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports are coming your way. We'll check out the reopening of a historic Southwest Missouri motel on Route 66 that's been closed for decades. Plus, we'll check out a job fair in Carthage connecting students with potential future employers. The Boots Court Motel in Carthage, Missouri is now fully opened. KOAM's Carrie Worthen has more on this story.
For the first time in decades, we have all 13 rooms open.
The nonprofit Boots Court Foundation saves the historic Boots Court Motel and restores it to its natural beauty.
So we saved what we could, but some places there wasn't anything to save, so we had to go back in with stuff that was new but had the feel of old, which is what we want. We want to honor the history of Route 66.
When I walked in, I was very surprised. I was like, wow, it was so clean, so basic, and it just had the feel that I was hoping for, kind of a vintage feel.
Boots Motel was constructed in 1939 by Arthur Boots and started out with 4 rooms. Boots later added on to have 8 rooms after seeing how successful the motel was. A second building was added in 1946 by the Neely family, which brought the total guest rooms to 13.
Oh my goodness, everyone is so happy and so pleased that we have saved the Boots and we have restored it.
Paula Holler is traveling from Minnesota to Arizona.
I looked around on the internet and saw Boots Motel, and it looked really interesting. So I thought, hey, let's check it out, and I managed to get here in the Clark Gable room.
It's a room that Clark Gable actually stayed in. We have a couple of those, but one that we have decorated with some Gone with the Wind stuff, so that's kind of fun.
Some of the rooms have original details, but the iconic neon is what brings the motel to life.
The neon is just the icing on top of the cake. We have beautiful green neon that comes on every night about dusk, and it just makes our boots shine like an emerald. So we are very happy.
In Carthage, Carrie Worthen, KOAM News.
The manager of the Boots Motel did say that the old Sinclair gas station next door is being redone with an office for the motel and Route 66 Visitor Center. The look for that to be complete in the next couple months. Students in Carthage got a chance to learn about possible career options. Carthage Technical Center today hosted its annual career fair. More than 60 vendors, including businesses, colleges, and the military, were there. The fair allows students to meet local employers, showcase their skills, and network with different people in different industries.
Connecting with everyone and getting to know all the employers around here and seeing what all kinds of jobs that I can do when I graduate or after college, it's really cool.
There was also a booth for assistance with financial aid and one to register to vote. The Department of Education today released a breakdown of federal student loan forgiveness application data. The department received about 26 million applicants for debt relief by the time a federal district court judge blocked the program in November. More than 16 million of those borrowers' applications were fully approved. Vice President Kamala Harris meeting with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz at the Munich Security Conference to discuss joint efforts supporting Ukraine's defense against Russia. The Vice President is also slated to meet with French President Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak during the convention of more than 40 global leaders. The ex-officers charged in the death of Tyre Nichols appeared in a Memphis courtroom on Friday. Nichols' parents say the hearing is the start of getting justice for their son. Fox News correspondent Charles Watson has more.
The court, plea of not guilty.
5 former Memphis officers charged in the death of Tyre Nichols pleading not guilty at their arraignment on Friday. Each faces charges of second-degree murder, aggravated assault, kidnapping, official misconduct, and oppression.
They didn't even have the courage to look at me in my face after what they did to my son. So they're going to see me at every court date, everyone.
It's the first time the ex-officers have been seen publicly since the release of shocking video showing them brutally beating Nichols during a traffic stop in January. The 29-year-old died 3 days after that encounter. All 5 men were fired after an internal investigation. An attorney for Desmond Mills Jr. asking the public to be fair when judging his client.
Much has been said about the ways that the system has failed Mr. Nichols. I will work tirelessly to make sure that the system does not fail Mr. Mills and that a fair outcome is achieved.
Earlier this week, 2 deputies present at the scene were suspended without pay. They are not expected to face charges. At Friday's hearing, the judge urged patience as this case unfolds.
The state of Tennessee, as well as each one of these defendants, have an absolute right to a fair trial, and I will not allow any behavior that could jeopardize that right.
The former officers are due back in court on May 1st. In Memphis, Charles Watson, Fox News.
Meteorologist Sam Lane is next with a full look at the forecast. And later, Super Nintendo World opens up at Universal Studios. We'll take a look at some of its attractions.
A beautiful start to the weekend with lots of sunshine today and cool temperatures, especially this morning. But this afternoon, it warmed up pretty nicely. Right now in Seneca, Missouri, at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Pretty nice night shaping up down there. Lots of dry air in place, so temperatures are going to be allowed to drop quite a bit as we go through the evening hours. This afternoon, we made it up to 43 after starting out at 21, which was well below the records and, of course, also below on the normals. And right now on radar, it's all clear. We expect it to stay that way through most of the weekend. Winds are going to be the big story over the weekend, with wind speeds over 35 miles per hour by morning, especially up towards the north. Then as we go through the day tomorrow, the highest winds are going to be up to our north and west. And in southeastern Kansas, with the drought situation going on, that's why the fire danger is highest there. Then those winds are going to be shifting more to the south and east as we go into the overnight hours. And by Sunday morning, the highest winds will be down to our south. But by Sunday afternoon, wind speeds are going to be decreasing across the area to just light speeds up across southeastern Kansas. And here's a look at the drought. This has been updated. We've been getting rounds of precipitation over the last month or so, and as a result, the drought is kind of retreating back towards the west, but it's still exceptional for our friends in Chautauqua County as well as Elk County and over there in southeastern Kansas. Right now, we're looking at readings generally right around freezing across the area. 33 in Jay, 34 in Veneta, 35, the warmest reading down in Bella Vista. Meanwhile, it's 29 degrees over there in Stockton. And when you factor in the wind, it feels a little bit chillier. Generally 20s in Missouri and 30s off towards the south in Arkansas. 34 is what it feels like right now in Bentonville. 25, though, up in Iola as well as Yates Center. Right now in Joplin, we're sitting right at freezing, and it feels like 24 because of a south wind at 9. The dew point's still low at 19 degrees, so that shows you how much dry air is in place. And over the weekend, we're going to see winds coming up out of the south. That's going to bring up a little bit of moisture, but temperatures are going to be in the 30s by morning. And then as we head through the afternoon, mostly cloudy skies with temperatures in the mid to upper 40s. And then as we go through the day, we might see a sprinkle or two across our region, but not really a whole lot of precipitation associated with that wave. And then by Sunday morning, lows will generally be in the mid 30s. And then on Sunday afternoon, again, mostly cloudy skies with temperatures approaching 60 across the region. But notice a front up to the north and west, that will slide our way and change our wind direction a little bit, but temperatures will not really be affected that much with lows in the 30s on Saturday or Sunday morning. Rainfall amounts with that wave tomorrow night, not really expected to produce a lot of precipitation. We're going to have to wait till Wednesday before we have a better chance of rain. And when it arrives, we could see some places get up close to an inch of rain in some isolated spots. Temperatures are going to be coming mild over the weekend, and as the cold air retreats to the north, we're going to be watching the storm system over the deserts of the southwest. That pulls out into our area midweek, and that's when the rain chances really start to increase. And then a cold air mass sitting up towards the north, not that far away, but it looks like it's going to be holding off just a little bit longer. As you take a look at this next 7 days, looks pretty nice with temperatures in the 60s with the best chance of rain on Wednesday, and then another chance of rain as we head towards next weekend. So all in all, not a bad forecast.
Yeah, not bad at all. I'll just pack my umbrella.
That's right. You never know when you need it.
Hey, just don't bring it inside. You're good.
That's right. Exactly.
All right. Thank you,
ladder.
Sam. Yeah. Millions of Americans are under nasty alerts for nasty weather across the country, including in the South. A tornado hit Ripley, Mississippi yesterday, and there were also suspected tornadoes elsewhere, including Tennessee. Coming up in sports, the Kansas City Chiefs lose their offensive coordinator to the Washington Commanders. Plus, the Pittsburgh boys aim to keep the outright SEK League championship. Jacob Leonard has those highlights and more next.
The Pittsburgh High School boys basketball team is 13-4 this season. The Purple Dragons have already wrapped up at least a share of the SEK League championship. It's their third straight league title and seventh in the last 8 years. Now tonight, Pittsburgh aims to earn the outright conference championship, hosting SEK rival Fort Scott. First quarter, Mason English for 3, and he gets fouled. Pittsburgh up 7 going to the second. In the second, loose ball here, Joey Chronister gets it ahead to English, and look at him. English gets up and throws it down. He had 18 in the first half, finished with 31. Freshman Jaden Brown, 3-ball for Pittsburgh later in the quarter. Now, other end, another freshman, Dirks Kegler, for the Tigers has the answer, but it's Pittsburgh by double digits at half. And in the second half, Pittsburgh would close it out. Dan Hastings steps out, knocks down the long ball. Then final seconds of the third, check out Jackson Turnbull here, beating the buzzer with the floater. He scores 14. Pittsburgh wins 58-39 to earn the outright SEK League championship. Now, earlier in the night, in the girls' game, Fort Scott ranked 7th in the state in Class 4A, trying to stay on top of the league standings. Tigers get it done 41-15. Kinsey Murphy scores 10. Fort Scott now 16-3 overall, including 9-1 in the SEK. Well, the Pittsburgh State Gorillas split a doubleheader last night with the Fort Hays State Tigers. On the men's side, the Gorillas fell 71-49. The PSU women beat the Tigers 76-66 for their 12th win in the last 14 games. Pitt State had 4 players in double figures last night, led by Grace Pyle and Tristan Gegg. Pyle there finished with 17. Gegg had 16. Jenna Shipley came off the bench and went 6 for 6 from the field and finished with 13 points. Fort Hays State actually came back, made it a one-possession game multiple times in the second half, but the Gorillas stayed cool, knocked down the free throws. They were able to finish it off in the end.
It's a sign of maturity. We do have a young group, but they're playing pretty confident right now, and so that that you know, I just think lends to they've kind of transitioned. You know, probably second half of the year, they've become a mature basketball team, and so I think that's the biggest thing. And just so proud of the group and their support of each other, and everybody stepping up and making plays at different times, critical times.
Missouri Southern Lions were also on the floor Thursday night, hosting a doubleheader against Nebraska Kearney. The Southern men cruised by the Lopers 86-59 to sweep the season series from Kearney. On the women's side, Lions battled to the end but fell just short to the 10th ranked Lopers. Southern was down by as much as 14 in the first half. They came all the way back and had a chance at the end, but Kearney finished it off 58-56. The game really came down to rebounding. The Lopers out-rebounded the Lions by 11, and Southern gave up 14 offensive boards.
We were losing 50-50 balls. We were giving up offensive rebounds. It's an effort thing. It's not a they were more talented than us. It was they wanted it more than us. They worked harder than us. They went after it, and we didn't.
Good team. You can't give up that many second, third opportunities, and sometimes it was fourth opportunity. So there's just one of those things that we got to make sure that we're mindful that we stay focused on the defensive end and complete the stop. You know, we get them take a tough shot, and then we got to make sure we box out and go get the ball.
Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy is leaving Kansas City. Bieniemy has agreed to a deal with the Washington Commanders to be the team's assistant head coach and offensive coordinator. He's been with the Chiefs since 2013 and has been the OC for the Chiefs since 2018. Now, under Bieniemy this season, Kansas City led the league in scoring, led the league in passing yards per game, and also total offense per game. And I have a feeling they're losing their offensive coordinator, but they have the guy back there, 15. I think they're going to be okay on offense even if they lose their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, you know, they've got a good, solid foundation there. That's an interesting move, though. I don't know if I would have gone to the Commanders.
Yeah, it seems, you know, I like good management. Andy Reid, Brett Veach, GM there, the Hunt family. I wouldn't have left, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's just me. We'll see what all happens there. But we'll be back with more news after this. Super Nintendo World is opening its doors, welcoming guests to the Mushroom Kingdom. Guests including Fox's Ashley Dvorkin, who brings a look at a Mario Kart ride, merchandise, and game-inspired menus.
Here at Universal Studios Super Nintendo World, it's all about fun, food, and forever souvenirs. Hello! We start at Mario Kart. Here we go! Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge is the ride in Mushroom Kingdom. Gamers gear up with augmented reality goggles, travel courses from underwater to in the clouds, collecting digital coins, competing for the Golden Cup. Over at the 1UP Factory Retail Shop, find that Mario and Friends memorabilia. The Toadstool Cafe has a signature-themed menu.
Chef Toad has gained all of his inspiration from out in the Mushroom Kingdom. So if you look at the menu, it either looks like a mushroom, it tastes like a mushroom, it is a mushroom, or it's themed as something that you would find out in the Mushroom Kingdom itself.
We were treated to a look at culinary creations.
The Toadstool Cheesy Garlic Knots, the Piranha Plant Caprese. So this is that traditional fresh mozzarella, fresh tomatoes, and then we have that basil or that asparagus stem that's coming around to make that piranha plant look like he's coming in to eat that salad. Our most popular right now is definitely the Mario burger, especially because of the cute little mustache, right? The Mountain Bean Pole Cake. It actually is made to look like the layers that you'll find out in the Mushroom Kingdom. Strawberry, raspberry, chocolate, and then it's got a matcha mousse that goes on top. This is a funfetti cupcake. It's going to be filled with a raspberry jelly, buttercream, and then it's going to have Princess Peach crown.
Okay. All this combines with interactive activities, supersized sites, and familiar characters to bring an experience full of Nintendo nostalgia.
It's game on! Super Nintendo World is now open. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
With Netflix cracking down on password sharing, users may want to be aware of other streaming sites' policies. Hulu currently allows 2 streams at the same time and up to 6 user profiles, but requires live TV subscribers to check in with their home network every 30 days so they can keep access to live programming. Amazon Prime Video comes free for Prime members and can be shared among their Amazon household, and Apple TV's family sharing feature lets users share the account with 6 others who have Apple IDs. Coming up, why a young boy from Michigan has gone viral on social media while at his first hockey game. At a recent pro hockey game, a little boy got almost as much attention as the players. The 4-year-old Michiganer couldn't figure out why the crowd was cheering for him, Video of him is now going viral, as Jeannie Moos reports.
It was George's first hockey game, and the Jumbotron ate him up. Detroit Red Wing fans booing. Opposing fans from Vancouver and cheering. Every time George came up, even if he didn't quite get it, the opposition, the home team. George finally cracked a smile and went viral. King George, they called him. I see a George bobblehead night. But it didn't give George a big head.
Like he didn't know it was about him and just kept saying like, yes, red team's winning.
Chelsea Miller describes her 4-year-old son as shy amid a whirlwind of attention.
There were probably at least 100 people that asked to stop to take pictures with him and high fives and can I get an autograph even.
Mom says they were hoping his sign would get George on camera, but they weren't expecting this.
Everyone just made it so special for us.
University of Michigan hockey wondered, George, do you need a Michigan jersey for the next game? George's grandma here, and he definitely needs a jersey. George reminded one poster of Mikey. Remember Mikey?
He likes it. Hey, Mikey!
Now everyone likes George, even Vancouver fans. Jeannie Moos, CNN, New York.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll leave you with a video of a giant tortoise snacking on carrots and lettuce at the San Antonio Zoo. Be safe. We'll do this all again later. See you then.